Okay, hi everybody. Today is training day 4, and I sent something out yesterday, or actually this morning. Hopefully everybody received that. But it was a little bit of an outline of what we're going to do today. And then the questions, well, there's a list here of everything that we're going to talk about, but then we're opening up to questions and answers from you guys, anything that you have. Hopefully you've had time to think about whatever questions you want to talk about. And we're just going to open the floor up and have a conversation. So, Joe, do you want to start with questions and answers, or what would you like? Do
No, yeah,
Q&A?
and no, thanks. And thanks everybody. Thanks, Kathy.
Mhm.
Thanks everybody for kind of embracing what we're trying to embed into our uh, 2 series per year, multi-day meetings biweekly. We want to add a Q&A. 90 minutes goes by in a blink of an eye. Are you recording, by the way? Oh, you are. Sorry. Yes.
I am, yeah.
But yeah, we want to be able to integrate and share with each other, take at least one time or 2 times throughout the year, uh, where we can share with each other. And hopefully that we take the time to really kind of filter our questions and answers and sharing with each other, all the while still collaborating as we will through email and those kinds of contributions to the discussion really goes a long way. But I do want to keep still with the same opening introduction kind of thumbnail. The reason why we do this is because when on the replay, you can read before even entering into each of the replays. Viewers, readers, commenters, and viewers can see even before they push replay. So this kind of keeps us from having to build out comments or details about each replay. But yeah, we'll keep 4. We'll try to keep 4, which we can fit within an hour and a half. Sometimes we'll just maybe cut it short and kind of build back forward. The whole purpose of this effort, they kind of stagger. It's a staggered effort, but it lasts for an entire year or in previous years training because we have a recording. So every little thing we do is kind of calculated, constantly running analysis on these efforts. So hopefully you guys can appreciate that as you settle into this role. But yeah, as you can see on the screen, these are the things we'll be talking about. I won't go into the bullet points, but we do change things up and we blend a little bit. If you'll see in point 3, if Boyd was here, if not, then I would, or if he was here, he and I both would touch on the areas of point 3. Point 2, kind of dedicate for Louise if and when she's here with whatever she's working on, and any bullets that kind of carries over any updates. Point 4 is kind of a wild card area that I'll plug in from time to time. But yeah, if you see bullet points under each section, it would be that there are updates. If you see a build out right underneath each category, that's something new. If it's mentioning something new. So now you'll see in point 1 or number 1 here, we're going to talk about Q&A. But since only 2 days we have, I'm going to go ahead and transition over 2 days each year. I'm going to ask if you guys spend a little time on this screen, but by virtue of having a replay, I won't belabor the contents here. But I would have if everybody uses, if you do use Proton, you can have several different accounts and they are free and it is pretty kind of robust and easy to use. Some say not. It's okay in my opinion, but and it's convenient. So because you can stack accounts. But yeah, so here's what we want to have you guys do as liaison. Go ahead and set up an account that's customized to be really simple. It's going to be for the use, it's going to be for questions and answers, more so of takeaways from each previous replay. The reason why we're asking for this is to have a little bit of a buy-in and a feedback, because your feedback and your takeaways from each previous recording helps to build out our handbook. So that's really, really clever that we ask from you what you gathered. If it's neutral, at least try to share a little something that you find interesting or maybe confusing, perhaps from previous meetings. That allows us to be able to kind of reach back into what we have talked about before, and with everyone's collective effort, sharing what they have taken away, if it's either positive, neutral, or negative. Believe it or not, we appreciate every bit of feedback. So this account fashioned in this way, which should fit everybody and even the year of entering into the, the service here. So for example, if your name's John or whatever your name is, first name, just go ahead and put your given name here, a simple abbreviation of your state, and then of course liaison, and then the year, and then Proton. So really simple. Does anybody have any questions about the use of Proton? Does anybody do you have issues with having used it or have a,
And Joe, it's Paul. Do we, since we entered in last year, will we be Liaison 2024?
yes, that helps. Yeah, that helps.
Okay. Okay.
So just go ahead and put in, yeah, really simple here. So for Paul, it would be paul.fl. So just a simple, not even really the traditional, by the way, the traditional American state abbreviations, Florida would be FLA, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just put FL to kind of keep it to where it would fit. Then liaison 2024 for you, Paul. And then if you have another Paul in Florida, state or county, it would just be Paul 1, Paul 2, Paul 3, and then, you can work it in like that.
Now, is this going to be in lieu of the PKTF.US?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is your primer account, and they are modular, so they stack very well in a directory. Super easy to identify. It helps to categorize and file it helps to expedite your answers and your feedback. So, and yes, after onboarding, each liaison will receive a PKTF account or an in-house email, separate client, IONIS. So, right. So there we go.
So I just want to clarify, Paul, you were asking if this is in lieu of that PKTF.US. Is that what you're asking?
That's what I was asking, but I think I just heard Joe say there's going to be two of them.
Yeah.
Yes, this one. So if you're using other emails, even if we're used to them, or if you have information in there, just kind of as far as helping out to help calibrate our correspondence and help expedite questions and answers and feedback, go ahead and adopt us or consider adopting. Let us know in your previous email if it's not working, if it's something that you're not really able to do at this time. But yes, if you can, go ahead and build one of these. Let us know otherwise if you cannot. Go ahead, Kimberly.
And I've already been
Oh, sorry.
using 3 of them for quite some time. I
Right.
think they're starting to get very sensitive about that, about you having too many of them. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to add yet another one.
Well, I have 5 protons
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't use them all, but I haven't deleted the ones I have used before. So
And Florida has been using in the beginning. It was like when I was the Volusia County organizers, Volusia County organizer at protonmail.com, and every of the 67 counties, they use that same formula. And so we got into it so early, we were able to do that. But
right.
at this point, I'm sure a lot of things have changed because there's so many people using it now.
Right. Is that it? Are you good, Paul?
Yes, I do.
To answer your question, yes, you will have 2. This will be your alternate, even though you're setting it up initially, kind of foregoing or suspending or sashaying over to from your current emails that you're using, and just categorize your feedback. This is really what we're going for ultimately as your initial use for this email. Then if you have questions and answers, it just helps because I don't know about you all, but I get a barrage. In a week's time, I probably have 100, 150 emails, and they just kind of blend together. And the only real way I can truly identify them is to have dedicated correspondence going to an actual email, not necessarily folders within one particular email. That's just me, but I can assure you it will definitely help us out. So if you do have more than one email, I know that it's a little bit of a burden. So go ahead. Yes, and you will have all of the liaisons will have a pktf.us domain. So that will be your primary or your in-house ones you would probably put on your business cards. Kimberly?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm just trying to comprehend the nature of of needing two, because I will also be having one from my state. So that now has three lines of communication. For the purposes of order and structure, my concern is I'm not really sure the function of all of these, and I think it has a potentiality of getting very clumsy. So I'm trying to understand, and I think you were starting to build it out a little there before I came on, that this one that we're looking at on screen is going to be the PKTF primary way of being able to organize itself with regard to communications with us in-house. Is that correct? Kind of, if I were dare say it, like a members only kind of thing, it's like going to be internal sort of email communication. Is that accurate?
Well, what I can tell you what Kathy and I have, Louise and Boyd, we use Ionis the same as the Federation, if only because of familiarity. I've used it for years. AmericanStateNationals.us. So just the whole layout of Ionis, and it's pretty solid. You know, the layout. We use that as our in-house, and we try to keep up with, again, with just having just a potpourri kind of bowl full of just emails. It's exhausting. And again, that's just my experience. So what we do is we have Ionis that we share with each other, we share with the Federation, and then we use Proton as not only a backup, but it's a way to partition other correspondence. So and if you guys would like to exercise or practice with that, Proton is a pretty solid machine alongside Ionis. And just the toggling back and forth, at the end of the month, or practicing this, you'll notice, oh, I get correspondence through this email client versus this email client. And at the end of at the end of each day, let's work with it, see how it works for everybody. I don't want to insist on convincing you guys before that, but I'm sure everybody has more than one email address. So, but yes, you will have two. The PKTF.us will be in-house. The Proton we use as our alternate.
So which would you be saying we would be using as our sort of public front on a business card for our professional cards then?
Well, you could use both, but really choose either one, whichever comes first. And that if I'm anticipating what you're asking, if you have business cards already in the making or have already made them, yes, it's going to be a cost to have to then adjust for that. I don't know how many of you already do have business cards fashioned for the role. I think Kimberly, you do, right?
I actually, I don't, we've had just ones to limp us along, but they are not our officially approved designs. We're working on those now. So that's why I'm querying where to go with this, because it has not yet been established, either one of these. The one on Michigan for me has, but again, I don't know how all things will be relating. So I'm trying to understand the function of how we're to be using these, and then how we make presentment of ourselves in a professional manner. So
Okay.
this is confusing me.
All right. So let me
I'm
try to
also
help you.
weekly technologically and so forth challenged. So forgive me if I'm the dummy in the group here. But I just want to make sure that I don't misrepresent here. And if there's one that we're supposed to be doing as the public face, if it's the .us or if it's this one, I just need to know what direction to go. Thank you.
No, it could be both, but like say if you don't have business cards yet, and you're using your current familiar email to send to any of us, we're asking if you can build this email and dedicate all correspondence, particularly for feedback for the training, and anything else up until you receive your in-house email. In-house email is the PKTF.us, and that's from Ionis, not Proton.
And if I may just qualify the term in-house, I'm using it in the capacity.
That would be your business card. Yeah, that would be something that you would.
I guess what I still would like to do is split this. Is in-house, you mean that it's you've been moved into role, and it's an in-house, as in it would be your public image, but not in-house is what I was talking about internal communication. It would be what we would be using as our professional email on to the external world, to the de facto, as it were.
Yes, yeah. If we had a building and you walked into your office, you would know, and you sat down at your terminal, that would be the email that you would use, pktf.us. But this one is your alternate. This one
Very good.
is with,
Okay.
sort
I
of
know.
your academy, your academy level type email alternate. Does that make
Very good.
sense?
Yep,
Yeah.
that helps me. That helps me a lot. I needed to make sure that, as far as a continuity of how, I guess, public interaction, de facto interaction was going to go, what did we want that model to look like? So I recognize now what you're
Yeah.
saying. So I think I comprehend. Thank you.
Mhm. Right. And to make it just a little bit easier, I sent in right as soon as, well, just a few moments. So Kathy, if you can resend if others came in before or after
Okay,
I shared.
yeah,
So the reciprocating email that when you do set this up, or even if you use your current email right now, the email that we've built as a responder to, Kathy will share it with everybody again in the chat. So, okay,
I just put it there.
what she's sharing with you, you can send your right now your email, but we're hoping that everybody's else's email that we receive, it's going to be from you, that we can identify you, your first name, your state, and that you are either a liaison in training or onboarded liaison. And then from there, we're hoping that Paul, like just you, Paul provides a lot of feedback. Kimberly, you do too. A lot of others do, but it's getting buried, and that's again. So that's just my struggle. So my ask is to help, you know, help streamline the pathways to receiving your correspondence, and this is the most solid way uh, to provide that. But you can send in to that email, and then your feedback as you reach back through, look at the previous trainings. You can take the opportunity to either, and this is in lieu of commenting too. And other times from the comment section of platforms that we use, even the opportunity to go back and listen to or review the comments and reply to those. So it's a kind of a little bit of a cumbersome effort. We just don't want to have your comments or your questions or your emails go days and weeks without having something. 48 hour, 72-hour turnaround is plenty, long of a lapse between the time you shared your question or your correspondence, and in this case, your feedback or your takeaways from our previous trainings, or they can occur in real time. You could send something tomorrow after having been on this training. So again, just to help us identify who it is and what you're asking, so that we can get back to you quickly, much more quickly, I should say. All right. All right. So now we're going to go into just the Q&A part. So everybody settle in. It can be a pretty quick 90 minutes, 80, 70 minutes. But we do want to hear everybody's question that you may have. I'm going to go ahead and kind of set up the question opportunity. And it is new, the idea. I don't think we've dedicated any of our trainings or times with each other with just questions and answers and a lot less slides. But we want to do one for each series, and we have two series per year so far, and we have breaks in between. Even if you have questions about that, which I don't have it queued up on the next slide on what as it's that being a question that we'll talk about tonight, but we can. What goes on between administratively, what's to be expected, those kinds of things. You can ask them here. You can ask them in comments in previous meetings if you've heard it discussed before. If you recollect if it was discussed before, you can comment there, or you can email. And if you use that email configuration, we'll be able to get back to you a lot sooner. Okay. Does anybody want to read this? Each one, black, amber, black, amber, and I'll go ahead and touch on that. Just want to take a break, give my voice just a little bit of a break.
I can read it if you want, Joe.
Yeah, just go ahead and read it and I'll give a quick answer. So this is kind of what we'll do, everybody. If you see something bulletized and we're settling in, we want to kind of let this be just a little bit, kind of moving along. And if you need to elaborate, And again, just for the sake of brevity in 90 minutes and the Q&A, little bit of a rapid fire. Yes, we can expound on, and as I'm doing even right now, uh, explanations, follow-up questions of answers given. But let's practice this, and this is what these bullets are about. Then we'll move into the questions that was provided ahead of the call. So go ahead. Thanks, Kathy. Go ahead and read that.
Okay. PKTF Staff Directorate will compile all known questions that are due or overdue for definitive answering by this time allotment.
Okay, so this is the effort. Questions come in via email. They're not answered that day, the next day, the day after. That is troublesome for you, I'm sure. But you probably are okay with that to a certain point. Then those questions needs to be answered, because in our anticipation, you're probably trying to gather answers that you then share with your assembly. And that's what our focus is. If we have an answer, or if you have a question, where I'm going to go ahead and safely assume you're trying to, as a type of coordinator, you're trying to deliver that answer back to whomever is that's within your assembly militia, particularly your assembly militia, if only your assembly militia. So that's what we're trying to do, this effort right here. Okay.
If you or your assembly militia pillar chairperson and or militia commander has shared inquiries, please feel encouraged to share them with the training audience at this time.
Okay. So again, two times each year, if you've had something you've been working on, if it's immediate, you can share twice a year. You can wait. If it's something again you've been working on, even through email in between, and kind of waiting for this day where you can share it. And this could be a project. This could be a culmination of your work, but it's a question, and then you should be able to expect rapid answers, especially from a staff directorate. That's kind of what this exercise is
Hi
about.
there.
So
Yeah, I'm just,
if you have questions,
just on the PKTF.
Paul, you got a hot mic, buddy. So yeah, so if you have something that you're working on, just as an idea, we are anticipating that these are who you're speaking with, especially your militia commander. But if you have questions, again, with our expectation, you need an answer very soon, especially if you express in your emails, I need an answer within 48 hours or less. That helps us to prioritize getting to your question with the most accurate answer as quickly as possible. Again, with that expectation, you're trying to share information with your assembly. And regardless of the reasoning and justification, there should not be weeks before you hear back from who it is you're corresponding with, especially on our end. Okay? All right, so there's that answer. Go ahead, Kathy.
Sorry about that, I was muted. If you should choose to refrain from sharing publicly, please utilize the new 2025 feedback email address exclusively created for such sidebar contributions, feedback and critical takeaways regarding overall training.
All right, thank you. Yes, and again, this besides the reasons for this email, it also helps to build out a very, very dynamic and relatable handbook. So your feedback is crucial for that essence that you'll see when at the end of the summer, once the version 1 comes out. So again, that's what we're asking for. All right.
Be encouraged to share your newly created liaison style Proton-based email address with your assembly militia pillar leadership once it has been created. Please send all related correspondence through that same client.
Okay, so what that does is, again, the same people that's working with your assembly militia pillar, that where you are and the various committees, they'll become familiar with that style of email. So, and if email answers through correspondence are answered, then they probably will be quite grown fond of that email, because questions and answers are channeled through back and forth through it. So we're just really hoping to make really good use of this effort. Right. So here's our talking points. for today. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know I'm off slide already, but does anybody have any questions about what we just talked about? Does anybody have any issues using Proton? No. Yeah, like I say, I have 4. Let me just share with you guys. I have, well, this one, I'm gonna, with Kathy and myself, we're gonna, and I'll CC her what comes to, and with, well, with everybody, as far as directors go, and while we exercise what we see coming through. And I don't know if everybody's here that usually attends our trainings every week. But again, we'll share back and forth. I'll share with you guys. I'm sure Kathy and Luis maybe set up a folder and their alternate Proton email, and then isolate those conversations. But this is a practice. I'm gonna see how rapid fire I can actually get back to everybody. And this is going to be used throughout our administrative leave. So it's really fitting and timely for the use of this and the reasoning for it, because we are about ready to go on a 6-week, uh, uh, focus on other areas within our assembly, or maybe we go on vacation, or a combination of both. But between now and series 2, I'll be sure to share everybody my experience with using this effort and providing answers to your questions back and forth. Let me see here. But yeah, I have this new one. I have a local county Proton email for county assembly. I used to have a Continental Marshals email. I have my main alternate email through Proton for staff, and then
Joe, are you showing email addresses? Because
no,
oh, okay.
no,
All right.
I'm looking up at my other
You
screen.
just tell him. Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, and then so that would be 4, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 4 of them. I think I said I had 5. I think I'm 4. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. So I'm finding myself really uncomfortable using the acronym of the 2 letters for the state within the email. So I was curious if there's another way, if we feel more comfortable spelling out the state, and then maybe if we can do more of an acronym for liaison. And I just wanted to float that out there. I yield.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a acronym for liaison or an abbreviation. Navada doesn't work well for you. NV.
Well, just from everything I know of what that means when you do just the 2-letter abbreviation for the state, that doesn't sit well with me as a state national.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a traditional email or abbreviation for all of the states. I think NEV might be the actual abbreviation.
Correct. If we do it 3 letters, I'd feel better with that. And I was wondering if anybody else was feeling the same way. I understand for the ease of doing the 2 letters, but what it actually represents within the de facto, I would rather not just do the 2 letters for Nevada. So I'd be okay doing NEV. Is that acceptable for you guys?
Sure, actually, yeah.
It's a great idea.
If everybody's comfortable with that, yeah. I mean, I would rather use what I use, what I know to be. Oh, let me just share with you guys. Let me just really quick.
So is it typically the first 3 letters? I mean, straight across is
me
what
sh-
is.
Let me
Lori, do you want
share.
to ask you a question? Because I think the 2 letters, we should get away from that, but I think it is. I don't know if it's 3 like Arkansas is an ARK. I mean,
No, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up, since we are talking about that. Let me go ahead. I
do you
have
want to
all of the
entertain a
correct.
question while you're pulling that up, Joe?
Yeah,
Louise
go
had her
ahead.
hand up and then Lori did. Go ahead, Louise.
Yeah, so somebody dropped in the chat. Oh, Bobby dropped in the chat, liaison LNO, is it? So we could use LNO dot and just Nevada or Florida, like the whole name of the state, and LNO for the liaison.
I love
Mhm.
that. I love that.
Let me share with you guys what I have. Let me get back on the screen. Really good point. I did think about that. And I am sensitive to using the correct abbreviation as well. So it's good. I'm gonna share my screen.
Liaison is LNO, Bobby. Where did that come from somewhere? LNO, Lee. I almost think it'd be L.
It's saying that you guys are assigned LNO positions for probably about 7 months. Yeah, LNO is an exact thing for liaison. Stands for liaison office, liaison officer. Yeah, it's a legit
Okay.
thing.
All
Okay,
right.
so here we go with, and again, just for the length of the address itself, this is one of the reasons why, yes, and all capital abbreviation, 2-letter abbreviation, this is clearly de facto, and it's used as such. So I get it. Lowercase is going away from that exploitation. But now, if you go to each of the 50 states here on the map, you'll see the exact traditional American abbreviated states. So for Wyoming, it's capital W, Y-O period. So that, and again, all of them ends with period, unless it's a state that has their abbreviation as their entire state name. Utah is this way, Ohio is this way. There's a few. But if you want to find yours, so Nevada, it's NEV period. If it's Utah and it's just 4 letters, then you're from Utah, you can put you, if you choose exact precisely, UTAH period. For Ohio, capital OHIO period, and then it would still fit.
Okay.
And you wouldn't have to abbreviate liaison, or you could abbreviate liaison. And LNO.
Colorado,
Texas,
like COLO.
Colorado, COLO period. Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
Michigan, please.
Maine is MAIN completely. Michigan, MICH period.
Thank you.
I knew there was another one. Maine is completely spelled out. I knew this when I was young, when I lived in Florida, FLA period. And it was like that when I was younger, by the way. There was no capital. This is all new to me. From when I was younger, I knew FLA. Let's look around. So you'll have, in New Jersey, so it's in capital N period, J period. I don't know if you would like to do that with 2 periods in your email address. So maybe NJ period. Other states with 2 letters. Let's find one.
My name Missouri's capital M, lowercase o.
North to South
period.
Dakota. Yeah, look at South Dakota. S. And again, I knew people would probably mention this. And again, I am sensitive to those concerns as well. But you see how it gets to be a little bit awkward. So SDAK period, perhaps. Same with North Dakota. And again,
Can you not
these are the
periods?
yeah. Maybe we can. Well, let's see how Proton offers that to you. Yeah. So who was that on Nevada that mentioned that? Alaska is completely spelled out. See that? Who was that on Nevada that mentioned that?
Hi, I'm
Whoever you were,
Jennifer.
thank
Thanks for taking it
Thanks.
seriously. I appreciate it.
you. Sure. Yep. So there you go. If you wanted to find that, go ahead and look there. And we go. All right. Get back to the questions. Where am I here? All right. Yeah. Our last training, I had a kind of I didn't have a crash, but I didn't save the mind map that I spent 8 hours on. I can rebuild it much more quickly. And it was to share, and it did help some of the questions that you see here, at least a couple of them at the bottom. But I'll get that back to you, and anything else that you might need, or any questions that you have by use of the email effort that we're launching here. I can channel it to you, and I know I send it to you, and I know what I sent to you, or any of else of Luis or Boyd or Kathy, Bobby, so let's give it a go, shall we? And that was a little bit disheartening. 8 hours with the mind map. The reason why it took that long is because I was doing research right along building it. So go ahead, Bobby.
I just uploaded maybe about 5 things in the chat, and they're not getting through. I want to know why.
Oh, yeah. Have your settings.
I don't see anything in the chat right now.
Do you have it
Um,
set for everybody or to a specific?
It should be for, I mean, there's other people that have put things in the chat, so it should be everybody.
No,
And
you
we
got a
got
drop
liaison.
down that says, you got a drop down that you can pick the person or it says everyone.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Bobby. Did you list everybody?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
just one
pretty sure.
person?
Yeah, no, I listed everybody. I'm not trying to single anybody out here. Everybody's got to know the information. So yeah, I mean, everybody. I just my first LNO went through, and
Mhm.
then I went maybe 5 more times on like 4 separate things, and they're not going
Hmm.
through.
Yeah, the chat
Mhm.
says everyone can see the chat, so I don't know. Does anybody know of a setting that I can check? Because Joe put something in there and Mike put something in there.
Bobby, try sending it to somebody directly and see if that helps, and then we can share it. Maybe that's
I
something.
I have. That's why I'm sending it in the chat because no one's seen it. So that's what I've
Bobby,
exhausted all those means.
send it to me on Florida.
Yeah. And then if it goes through, we can share. Okay, so let's go ahead. This is what was sent to everybody, and I was some things that were added under additional talking points, and that was added too. So I think Kimberly might be here, and I'll let you guys have time to because this is a live scenario or a live exercise concern here for point 2. So I'm just breeze through. All of these are company side. If you do have a question about the difference between the company administrative side of peacekeeping task force, that's a question we can ask. It's not on here, but we can again breeze through that. So point 1 here, review requirements for the role of PKTF liaison. There are very few requirements, but there are expectations from some assemblies that we've been hearing about through our emails, of course, phone calls, other discussions, replays, word of mouth, those kinds of things. So yes, we do, as far as the complete onboarding process, we want to be able to have your General Assembly familiar with your efforts even before having completed your onboarding. So yes, go back to your assembly, share with them what you're working on. If they're a bit timid or kind of standoffish on what is going on, we need to know, because it is a little bit, we are suffering a little bit of a disconnect between hearing from other assemblies, but not who have liaisons and training that we're aware. But there isn't a lot of I don't know, appreciation from the General Assembly or feedback. Go ahead, Louise.
Does everyone have the requirements of the position sheet? Do we need to put that in the chat?
Yes, go ahead and do that if not.
Kathy, could you pull that
Yeah,
up and
that'd be
put that in
great.
the chat? You're muted, Kathy.
Oh, I have a lot of background noise, so I'm muting myself in between. I'll go ahead and look for it and put it in there.
Okay. So that you all can share with your assemblies of what your role requires.
Perfect. Thanks, Louise.
Joe,
Okay.
this is Paul. I got a call
Mhm.
this week from our vice chairman, Giles King, and
Mhm.
he's the General Assembly chair, and he's also one of our justices on our state court. And one of his questions were, okay, what is the PKTF's involvement going to be? And he said, where do they derive their authority? Those are the words that he used. And of course, I was talking to him about, we're there as advisors and answer questions and things like that. But the question was still there. So
Mhm. And what did you share with him?
well, I told him, so, well, this has been the vision for the Federation of States to have the PKTF, and
Mhm.
and the Federation of States is the summoning authority, and this was
Right.
their idea.
Well, let me share, at least help contribute to help and answer those kinds of questions. They seem a bit I don't know, vague, I guess you could say. Plus, if those questions were asked to you by that someone, back-to-back questions, it's a two-part question. So I would almost have to ask them, can you elaborate more? Uh, can you be more specific on what the role is, point one, and then can you elaborate on the question on regarding summoning authority? And again, all questions are valid. It may be a little bit frustrating if you have the same someone or set of people who are asking the same question after having provided them a thorough answer. So that's why I would ask them to elaborate more on each one of their questions. Can you be a little bit more specific, please? Because you can always, a really healthy next step is to point them to the PKTF news site and the blog site. And if they say, well, I have perused both of those sites and I still have these lingering questions. And again, I'm sharing with you as what I have done. And I would encourage them, can you, have you provided questions? Ask, kind of guide their conversation with you as question-based to ask them questions, at the same time. And of course, provide an answer that's reasonable and accurate, of course, and timely, but, just ask them to elaborate just a little bit more. That's my approach. So, and of course, pointing them to their source.
Yes, it may also be good, like you were saying, it would be good to get that question, even using this secondary PKTF liaison email address, and it said then we can clearly define the nomenclature that we're talking about,
Right.
and give an accurate answer. So this,
Sure.
I'm sure, will be helpful for all of us. I yield.
Right. Right. And when you meet a different folks, either inside or outside of your assembly, when you have a dedicated email like this effort and know all liaisons that you're in company with, including the Federation, it's very uniform and you'll notice very quickly how convenient it is. And if you would like to have just kind of general questions sent to you via email, you can share this same Proton email that it supports your future organizational email, pktf.us. So yeah, and it just helps to, if you can't answer, you don't have even time for an elevator pitch to help answer questions or conversation, then just share with them that email, and you'll be able to kind of gauge who's contacting you, and it doesn't get buried in your other email addresses you use. Go ahead, Louise. We'll move on to point two after.
I guess when I
Louise?
hear that question, I think of, the question is, where did you come from? What gives you your authority? And my answer would be the charter. We were hired to do a job, and the charter is right there on our website. So that's what we do.
Right. Yep. And that's why, again, this is just my experience. It's a little bit vague, but it's a little bit of an expectation of people asking questions. Of course, they're not going to say, you know what, I've devoted 8.5 months of my time and I still haven't found the answer to these questions. So I'm laying this at you just don't know that. So that's, again, just to kind of prod just a little bit more. Can they be more specific? And if they say, you know what, I've been scouring the internet for 8 months, that's not reasonable for someone to suggest that is, that doesn't sound reasonable to me. So again, you can default to, well, can you just send me your questions in an email? They can save time and save your time, and the whole exchange can be postponed logically through email and not in that moment. Because you may have issues, maybe subconsciously thinking, how can you not know these questions, And again, they may be brand new at this point, and maybe they haven't gone to the federations or our news site or our blog, or you just don't know that. So just kind of defer to where they can go to help better answer their questions.
May I
Okay.
know, let me ask the question. Does everybody know where the charter is on the PKTF news site? That would be the link that I would put in your email if you responded to somebody. Tell them to read it.
Yep, it's a 4-year iteration. It is a charter selection method, which means if you look at charter service selection or charter selection, this means that we've selected a charter that does not compensate us for our time while we're serving. But by virtue of having accepted this charter, we will, and all of you, everybody who works within the organization, as you would expect, compensation, however you choose at this point. And then we know that it's a little bit odd to even think how the multiple oddities, how compensation will even be because of the financial evolution that we're experiencing. So if it's anything along the lines of, well, it's federation, just simple charter, you know, if it's an $85,000 per year, whatever, then that's what it would be after. But the service selection for the charter, that's what was set into motion when the Federation and Anna and the legal law firm had decided to put these articles, these 8, I think it's 9 articles, but they're 4 years. And after 4 years, then they are supposed to be, well, they're up for adjustment every 6 months, but certainly after 4 years, you will, should expect an update to the charter. And these are the kind of things you can explain to anybody asking, what's
I
the
put the link
authority, you know, where does it come from, those kind of things. Yep.
I put the link in the chat for everybody to share with their assemblies and people who ask the question.
Yep. And the 2020, you see 2020, 2025, we're already at that point. I think September or October of 2020 was when the charter was put together. And then, so it's already to September 2020 to 2024, and then 6 months after that from September. So we're beyond it. So you should expect an update. When you go to the link and you look down in the charter in the bottoms as caveats, you'll see some expectations of charter and what's called an enhancement or a reduction. So you'll see that and you can share that with them. And there you go, Paul. You can have that question asked. And this was a question, I'm assuming was a question that you had with someone previously. So there's your answer for them. Okay, point 2, really quick. Status, the access badges. So we absolutely have to have, and we will have within just a few weeks, and that's not just a blanket future expectation, quite literally within 3 weeks or sooner, the types will be out. We have 2 separate vendors, and we have state assemblies that have card creators and equipment that can provide whatever kind of plastic durability. They have holographic overlays. I don't think any of them, well, some of them do, I think. But we're going to go with less rules and details about the access badge, so long as they're durable and that they're on time and that they're accessible. All of these things we'll be able to provide you guys through your email, your current email or your email we just discussed, and share with you all of what's taking place. Now, not everybody, well, I can just tell you Michigan, Nevada twice, perhaps Nevada 3 times, Washington, perhaps, let's see here, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, and just that's about, I think there's about 9 or 10 that should be having their parts, their access badges next month. And we'll write articles about this. I have 24 articles I have to write, and I've waited towards this time period to, well, not just me, there's other contributors along the way. It takes a little bit of time to get what needs to be put in paragraph form and mechanically correct on all those deals, artwork, whatever. But what I'm going to do, my contribution as for the article, for the blog, is to build up, similar to questions that needs to be answered. I will take the opportunity to build up, collect the research needed, and then take the time needed to put articles together and then publish them. But the information about the cards, the badges, where they are at this point, any other information about the use and redundancy of having them, all of those things will be in articles one. Let's see. Okay. All right. So here's so 1, 2, 3 with some bullets, and then really it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. But I'm gonna go. Does anybody have any questions about 1, 2? Our additional talking points. Really, we've already prefaced the whole entire conversation with the Q&A. So here we are with that. All of this is pretty much copied from the email. So let's go into point 2. I'm going to consider this a live scenario just for myself. I haven't seen any of the details, but I think Michigan, you want to share, or whoever? Point 2, or Luis? Questions about this, because this is a question. What should a liaison do? Is this question for me, or would you like to share a little bit of?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Kimberly, are you here? I think, is Kimberly on Michigan here?
I'm present.
Yeah, so I like this to be a live scenario for us to learn how liaisons could react to a situation like this. Could you let everybody know what happened yesterday about this scenario here?
Absolutely. I am gonna go ahead and give me 1 second. I'm popping this. Oops, excuse me. 1 second. I have a link I was going to share with you all. Please bear with me. There's a link for you all. Basically what we discovered yesterday, I got a call from my IT chairwoman. Litigation had come to her committee meeting, and it was pointed out to us, as found through another woman on Michigan, that in Telegram, an engagement had begun with a man, Anthony H., and was asking for information about the Michigan Assembly. Basically, what was discovered is that there is a website, the states.nationalfreedomsupport.com, and this is a website that basically has every one of our assemblies currently listed. It does look like from our early research, and please comprehend this broke like yesterday afternoon, so we're still starting to work at this, and any others that would like to be participating and looking for your own assemblies and their welfare, please do look into this. But effectively what we're finding is that this is a site that is attempting to go ahead and to administer the declaration of political status paperwork with fees and subscriptions, and has all of our assemblies basically listed, but these people are supposedly doing some sort of paperwork process. We at this point are trying to figure out what is going on. First of all, we on Michigan just approved, excuse me, radio work. We have just approved our state seal within the last 4 weeks, I believe, and it is now in use without our consent or permission. I would encourage many of you others, your states are also included in this. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at this website to start to see if you have also been infringed upon. Forgive me, I have so much radio going on right now. We have too many radios in our room. The video that I put in the chat is our report to walk through the video, to walk through the website, and show you what we were able to find. So we immediately went ahead and got the PKTF on the line to start to report that we may have a compromise here. And it looks like the men and women are basically being perpetrated upon for fees that we have no idea what this paperwork is, and it looks like our own copyrights are being infringed upon as assemblies. So with that, I will yield to I guess Louise. I know you were the one able to jump on with us, and if there's any questions I can answer, I will be happy to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Louise.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you,
Interesting.
Kimberly. Can I share, this is option?
Yeah,
when-
yeah, I'll come back to this. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, I'm gonna share. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay. Now, and it's appropriate. I don't know if that's the right word. We had the same issue. The Federation Directorate had the same issue of infringement on our trademark that Kathy had discovered. I believe Kathy had discovered this website. Now, and I'll put this in the chat here for you. So this is just my response, because I did look through the stuff to see, look through the website that she put in the chat to see what was going on. So as I'm looking at that website that Kimberly and them discovered, I was thinking about the website that Kathy had discovered, that I was tasked with finding out who owned the website and then doing something about the infringement on the Federation seal. So this is the document that I sent to Michigan Assembly with my official response to what I saw. So I went back, get off the call with them, and I went back to look at the site that I was supposed to be looking at to see what infringement was going on. And so this is what this document is. We'll put that in the chat. And I use this to compare to the website that Michigan discovered to see what my response would be and what my recommendation would be. So I looked at this particular site here is the AmericanStateAssembly.com. Now on this particular website, they use the Federation seal here to the left. And that is the logo for their site, which that's what I consider a infringement. You can't use the Federation seal for your company logo. And then on their site, they have a store. And in their store, they use the Federation logo on their merch to sell whatever for whatever prices. That's what I consider an infringement on the seal to make money off of.
Louise,
Yes.
and for everybody, I can tell you this is Jennifer Goodwin's work, and this is the traditional grift. Also, because Jennifer Goodwin, who's a marketer, she's a marketing professional. And I've learned that marketers can be quite ruthless and kind of flip it in their, wanting to try to do as they do. But anyway, this is her work. What we can do, just kind of as you're working through this, is we can reach out to them and just let them know, or this or anybody else, that kind of have a conversation. What are they trying to do ultimately with use of trademarks or logos or seals? At the same time, then they're charging an exuberant amount for not merchandise necessarily, but status correction, paperwork, recording, or whatever. That's an issue, of course. But yeah, I think it would have to be, should be expected to reach out to these, whoever they are. In this case, this would be Jennifer. Go ahead. Thank you.
Bobby has a question. You want to go ahead real quick, Bobby?
If you're talking, Bobby, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I think he's trying to unmute. I'm sending him a message to unmute. So maybe if you click, there you go. Okay.
So what I was saying was that this is something I've been tracking for a while. I'm deep involved in this previously for years with some people in the assemblies, starting from the marshals. So if there's a new site that came up, that's a totally different thing. But she does a lot of different types of legal things as well. Just to give you guys a reference, did you find out when this last site was created? And if we're even talking about the same thing?
Don't know when
So-
it was created. No, but don't know when it was created.
All right, because there was a legit agreement between her and them and the Federation of States a while ago, but that's, I mean, based off her actions, that should have gone away. So if this is, so if this is something old, I'm sorry, does anybody have any better information?
Yeah,
Please.
and well, yeah, a little bit, Bobby. Yeah, you and I were around when we witnessed Jennifer's efforts, but it was not lasted long, and we don't know why exactly, but it seems a little bit calculated, I guess. I mean, American State Assembly. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's a little bit aggravating, and us as liaisons, we're trying to practice our interfacing skills, and build our interaction. Hold on, I got somebody at the door.
Okay. So, I went ahead with my little research to see if I could buy something from the site, which I couldn't. So it says the store wasn't open. So I just took that extra step to see how far the infringement went. So then, I went to find out who owned the site. And this is what we were talking about. Kimberly and Michigan Assembly was talking about how to go about finding out who owns the site so they can figure out what recourse they have and what the actions they were going to take. So I did it on this site. And of course, the registrant is private. So, but when I was here, this is what I found when I was here, is that you could contact the owner of the site, and you do have an abuse contact information, email and phone number that you can contact. But I decided, because I found down here where it says contact domain holder, I was going to do that first, because we want to practice going to the person first to see, what exactly their intent was, or if we can actually negotiate with them. And what I told Michigan Assembly is, we want to build bridges. We want to see if we can cooperate with people that we find, they may not know, or I don't know what they know. But everybody's innocent until proven guilty, right? So we want to reach out to them to see if we can have a conversation. So I decided I was going to hit contact domain holder, and it takes you to this form you fill out. And I said domain name and content is infringement on trademark or violating local laws or regulations. Now, when I was with the Michigan Assembly, the question I posed to them is for you need to know what infringement that you are trying to get recourse for. We're in commerce land now when you're talking about your trademarks, your seals and all that, and online. So what can your case be? I don't think the case can be the paperwork. The reason I don't think the case can be the paperwork is because the paperwork is free for everybody to use right there on our website to download and use. How they choose to use it, I don't know if we can regulate how they choose to use that paperwork. However, what we can regulate, quote unquote, I know we don't like using that word, but what we can protect is our copyright or trademark property. And it's proof of that right there on the commercial site. They says, yeah, you got a claim if you can choose one of these. And we can't choose one of those. So I just sent that email to that person for both of those sites, because it's 2 URLs. And then I just wait for it pops up, whether it pops up and says, that the owner can choose to answer you or not. So now I just wait. And so then I sent this over to the Michigan Assembly. I told them what I thought about the paperwork and everything with their site. So I did the same thing with the site that they happened upon. On this particular site, things that I noticed. On the home page is the home page of the site is nationalfreedomsupport.com. That's the home page. The page that we were looking at was state.nationalfreedomsupport.com. So I went back to the home page to see what the page and content was about. When we go and try to make a claim in commerce, they're going to look at the site and see what the content of the site is and see if the content actually infringes upon you. And then they're going to look in the agreement page. So on the content, right here, it says on the content, on the first homepage, it has our the proclamation. They're not hiding it. They're saying, hey, this is what we're supporting. They're saying we're supporting the state nationals. That's what they said on their homepage. And then I looked at their terms or conditions page. They call it privacy policy. And then I read that, because this is what the commercial side is going to look at when you try to make a claim against them. What was their intent? What did they say? Did they disclose everything that they were doing? Which they did right there on their page, on their website. They tell you what it is that they're offering. They do not mention American State Nationals at all of what they're offering. They talk about their national freedom supporting everybody, and these documents are for you. And if you choose to use them, you can. If you don't, you're voluntarily using them, and all, they go through all that. So there's disclosure there. So these are the things I'm looking at, and then that we would train the liaison to do this type of processing before we get to a recourse, before we decide, well, how are we going to interact with this individual when I get them on the phone or when I send them an email. So the next thing I looked at was the logo. Now I had a question about the logo because it does have the Federation seal in it. And I remember Joe was saying, well, in commerce, when your logo is changed a little bit, then it's really not your logo anymore. Or, if your seal is changed a little bit, then it's really not yours anymore. They're not really duplicating yours anymore. So that's a question. I don't know, but I can see that they've changed it. So, because they got NFS and the flag and all that is in it, not just our seal. And so that's a question, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to leave that one alone, because that's going to be debatable. I don't want anything that's debatable. I want something solid. So then I go to look at the states.nationalfreedomsupport.com, which was the site that we was concerned about that had the subscription fees and everything. Well, it has a list of things that you get within the subscription. One of them, yes, is filling out your paperwork, but they have forums, they have other stuff that's part of the subscription. And in the commercial world, they are allowed to do that. They have a forum, they have remedy packages. They're allowed to have those things. So as I continue to go down too, I see the state seals and stuff on this page. When I look at the state seals on this page, I see it as informational, not selling anything. On this particular page, they're not selling anything, but they're giving, can you see that, what they're giving at this? Because this is the stuff that they're going to come back with you with. They gave the state seal, they gave the state website address, they gave the state contact information, they gave the state mailing address. That's going to be a hard claim to make that they're perpetrating you. So this is what I'm looking at, and I'm analyzing what would be the other person's rebuttal to me if I'm going to claim that you're perpetrating me. So I go on and just tell them, I told Michigan Assembly what my observation, based on my observation, I would encourage our assemblies to network with this owner of this website, encouraged to continue and give him permission either to use your seal for information purposes only, which is what they appear to be using it for, information purposes only, not for commerce, but you can draft up a restriction in writing to make that agreement with them so that it can be clear that that's all they're using it for, and they can still continue to engage in the same rescue mission that we're engaged in. Because if you look at the about page, which is another thing the other side is going to do, is look at their about page and see what they are about. And in their about page, they say We're here to help support the mission is basically what they say. So that's my official response to this. I think this is an opportunity for us to start bridging, networking with whoever this person is. And he had his name on it, Anthony H. He had his face on the page. He wasn't hiding. So that would be what I would say about things like this. Yes, research it to see if you can glean from what the intent of the website is. And if you see that they're trying to help, but they're doing an infringement, then try to contact them and try to get an agreement. Like, I didn't know that there was an agreement with that other site before. Maybe you all can arrange an agreement. Yes, Mike or Kimberly, I'm not sure who was first.
Mike was first,
Mhm.
and then Kimberly.
Yeah, so I have about a 10-year background in digital marketing and website development and a bunch of other stuff related to this kind of thing. My question is, with regard to the PKTF, is this something that we should be more engaged in with regard to helping out the assemblies with this kind of thing? Is this the kind of thing that that we need to develop some expertise with regard to this? Louise, I think your assessment of this has been pretty good. But
Well, yeah, if I may, Mike. Yeah, Louise, great breakdown and absolutely great approach. This is a perfect effort of trying to interface. Casting dispersions, if there are any, they would have to be, first of all, professional, justifiable, and cordial. But how do you do that with dispersions? I'm thinking that I'm not. Well, let me tell you, American State Assembly is Jennifer Goodwin's work. It may not be now, but it certainly was before. And you can kind of see a little bit of cleverness by, putting what's the website again? American State Assembly. That wasn't by accident. So those kind of little clevernesses, and now utilizing the logo. This is not good practice in my opinion at all. But the other, what was the other at the bottom? And it's a good comparison to see one that seems very not approachable. Although I would, yeah, definitely considering reaching out to American State Assembly Grift versus this one. Now, so I don't know exactly who this is, but they're using the information, and just consider shunning this effort. A liaison would not do that. They would take, as Louise has mentioned, they would take the opportunity to try to reach out and correspond and let your assembly know. And Mike's question, yes, this is something that liaisons can provide. This is from American to American or alleged American to the American State Assembly, back and forth. Things we'll be doing in the future will be helping to bridge that gap and interfacing with peacekeepers. And this is a really good, I would say, exercise. But I can tell you with almost complete confidence to this day, somebody just looked at the longevity of the website for this American State Assembly. That is Jennifer Goodwin's work, for sure.
so just so I'm clear, then
Initially.
Joe, is this something that obviously should concern us, but it's kind of in our arena, in our wheelhouse as to some of the things we're involved in? Okay, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
So I didn't want to cut in front of Kimberly. And by the way, if you guys want to continue on with this, what I can do is defer the answers to these other questions, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, to your emails. So we can go ahead and continue on with this conversation, and I'll just provide you guys those follow-ups with the other questions, or what would you guys like to do? Go ahead, Kimberly. Go on with Kimberly.
Thank you. Just on and for the record. Well, I appreciate, and in peace I come. I also have to stand in defense of my state. We have hardly had the opportunity to use our seal, let alone finding it out in use. We appreciate that there may be a possibility for an effort that could be supportive of this work. However, we do not believe that men and women should be charged for their paperwork, period. We have fee structure in place only for the option to be able to not have men and women look like they've been coerced in basically having their fees paid for them. So that is a contract in commerce that we're allowing them to have to basically establish their own freedom. However, no man or woman will ever not be allowed home on Michigan. We have a pay it forward account to ensure that. And so this is something that we object to the paperwork having any charge whatsoever. We also, on and for the record, will not honor any paperwork coming from this group. They have basically come onto our land without any, hey, we'd like to work with you. Congratulations on your new seal and logo. You know, we're all about the cause. They haven't declared themselves in any way. I don't respect that the man has not given his full name and contact information. And I also comprehend at this point that it may be coming out of a circumstance in which we have a confusion of who is actually the group to be working with on a certain state. So we now have situations where we don't know who the Federation is backing. And until we actually know who the Federation is backing, we're not comfortable actually backing a situation like this. Not that we won't reach, not that we won't, attempt to establish communication and find out what's going on. But for this to be just in our face without any high friendly anything, that's not friendly. You don't do that in our world. So we appreciate that this is something that they look to be bolstering all of this and trying to make men and women aware of the effort that we're under. However, we firmly object to any sense of, subscription or monetary situation here. And identify yourself, declare yourself. We've declared ourselves. We basically have the backing of the Federation of the United States, and we men and women are standing on protecting and serving our men and women on Michigan. So with that, we cannot just open our hearts just widely at this point and say we're going to be okay with this, because in commerce they have breached the law. And just being generally honorable, they did not come to us to speak to us, and they've subjected all 50 assemblies to something. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are coming from or if the Federation backs this. So we still remain with our concerns. We are at peace and we will proceed in peace, but to the point we must be protective of our people, we are. Thank you. I yield.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just to kind of follow up on what Kimberly's saying there, I agree with that completely. And I try to keep this within the role of the PKTF. It appears from the limited kind of contact that I have, but it's a significant issue that seems to be happening on multiple states. And I can't help but ponder the possibility that there's a coordinated effort involved at trying to undermine our work in general. And I think it would be wise for us to be alert to that possibility and to kind of prepare ourselves for these kinds of conflicts. I think most of what's going on here, clearly trying to charge money for things that are, I filled out all my paperwork on my own through the state nationals and everybody. I was able to do that on my own. It didn't cost me anything. Somebody charging for those kinds of services, I would assume, is probably undermining some kind of UCC violation. There's some kind of violation there. So yeah, reach out, make a peaceable effort, but my expectation is that there's going to be conflict at some point. And I don't know what role the PKTF finds itself in with regard to this, but as a federation, as state assemblies in general, I think we need to prepare ourselves for increasing kinds of attacks rather than kind of this peaceable cooperation. I don't think that's going to happen. I yield.
Yeah, and Mike, this is a great opportunity to cultivate this outreach effort. And again, we know who the Federation is, and we know who we are on our state. We have these efforts. It's a kind of a double-edged double-edged sword, maybe. Definitely worth the effort to try to reach out to them, find out who they are, and through that effort, maybe they shut down because they are really ultimately really up to no good, charging crazy prices, but then kind of clinging to the essence of the state assemblies, your state assembly. That's your General Assembly will greatly appreciate your effort because outreach, interfacing, and ultimately advocating for the recognition of your state assembly, your land and soil jurisdiction state assembly, brought into session by the federation, and you as part of the federation of states. All of this combination, if people want to try to help get the word out, they want to add you and your state to their website and then charge, you should have an objective say so from your assembly. And the liaisons can definitely bring that to the forefront. I'm sure your General Assembly would absolutely say, thank you, PKTF, for doing that. So, all right, so let's, if I can, I got just 5 more minutes. So what I'll do, if Kimberly, go ahead. If you have one more.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a point of clarification that I do agree that I think Assembly should be looking out for this. Just for and on the record, this is actually our 3rd website now that we are now actively having to, in 2 cases, defend ourselves. And in this one, we don't know if we're in defense or just needing to discuss transgression. So at this point, we have 3 issues of active and current with regard to our assembly and assembly website names and domain names and so forth. So,
well, what we can do, Kimberly, if there's not, you don't have to exhaust the effort, and the correspondence falls short, if they resort to gaslighting techniques, or just whatever the case is, just let us know, and we'll put these sites on our sites to illustrate that they are illegitimate and uncooperative and using grifting tactics. So that should help remove them for that.
From our last coordinator, we are still being attacked. Anna is being attacked. I'm being attacked, and it is affecting my performance and my ability to do the liaison work at this point. So if you could put eyes on that, the michiganassembly.org. Paul Peterson, our previous state coordinator, has that in his custody and is actually still perpetrating upon us this way. And that is our rightful asset, yet not yet returned. Thank you. I yield.
Right. And so the Michigan Assembly, like any of the assemblies, you would do your part to just publish what is true, leave it up to the observer to make the decision. But the Peacekeeping Task Force, backed as a creation of the Federation, goes a little bit further so that we can help collectively all 50 states, whether or not they are suffering those kind of doppelganger type entities. Christopher, if you have something really quick, go ahead.
Yeah,
I want to screen share my last part before we cut out.
Yeah,
but I won't go over all the other questions. Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
That's all right. I just, I'm hearing a lot, and what I am curious about, has anybody actually gone to sheriff's departments and taken the liaison and their militia commander and kind of really sat down and talked to these people just to kind of see what kind of reactions we're getting? Because I haven't really heard much about, like, yeah, I went to this sheriff's office and this is what happened. So I was kind of wondering if anybody's done that. I yield.
Andrew, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, Christopher, in my county, I started off, this has been years in the making. And I broke the ice with my commercial sheriff, and just let him know that I was on the county, that I was a state national, and he really acted like he didn't know much about it. But, you can tell when someone is holding something back. So, but I kept persisting. I met him a few other times and just added. And in the meantime, I was elected county sheriff, Reeve. And so the last time, or one of the last times I went to see him, I was in uniform, and it really, it's kind of crazy because I'm sitting in the office of the sheriff's department, And all these people are, oh, hello, hello, being real nice. And they had no idea who I was. They thought I was probably some sheriff from out in Arizona, because our uniforms look kind of like those Western style guys. So, yeah, but we got along really great. Yeah, we have a lot in common. And we talked about everything. And after that, then I put in a plan where, okay, I'm going to go to every village in my county. I talked to every police chief, and really, they were all really great, answered a lot of their questions. They're really intrigued. They wanted to know what was going on. So I filled them all in. And so I'm still doing that. I'm going out for another round here and probably next week, and start talking to them again. But from my experience is all the little villages, those guys were really more embracing, trying to get to know what was going on. But the bigger city that I have in my county, the county seat, those guys put up a wall, and that's where we went head to head. And I was telling Adam that that's what I really needed. I don't like sitting there and people just kind of back and forth and everything's nice. You need that friction. I do anyways, to really, see where they're at. And we had some really good talks. So I'm going to keep going at them. There's no stopping. And from my point of view, I'm just going to keep pushing and pushing. That's just who I am. I'm a former prison guard, and it's just in the nature of being in people's faces and talking. Because in prison you had your mouth and your hands, and that was it. You was either swinging or talking your way out of it. So yeah, that's what's going on here, and it's pretty good. I'm getting some things done. Nothing major yet, but yeah, it can be done. Everybody can do it. Everybody should be doing it. And I'm not a liaison, but that never stopped me. Before this liaison class even came up, I was doing this stuff.
Right.
And that's just I think that's what everybody should try to embrace and not be afraid of them. They're just, when you take that uniform off, it's men and women sitting there talking.
Yeah,
Right.
we're in a lot, I'm in a huge Denver metro area, right? So, there's millions of people in the Denver metro area. So, in the bigger cities, I'm kind of wondering, like, where is that resistance? Because that's where we're going to hit the biggest population, right? So, I mean, smaller towns, yeah, sure, you might meet him in the donut shop or whatever the case may be, or, you go to his favorite coffee place, and it's pretty kosher when it comes to that. But when it comes to bigger cities, when you have millions of people that live in these cities, I mean, I would imagine the resistance is you said there was a wall, and I'm kind of wondering how bad that was and how big the city was.
I was going to say, just for you or that situation, because we have a female sheriff here in Ohio that she's up in Cleveland area, and she was talking about this the other day to us. And she got into one of the federal buildings or the state building down there up there in Cleveland, and she said she was getting a lot of harassment from deputy sheriffs. And one was sticking up for her, saying, well, she wants to talk to the sheriff, and so that's the key, just to try to leave all the noise out, even in the big cities, and just set up a meeting with your sheriff, call his secretary and say, hey, I'd like to talk. I changed my political status. I just want to let you know I'm here. I'm peaceful, and give you a little information, just try to have that little icebreaker and go from there. I yield.
Yeah, Andrew, for sure. I've envisioned how simple it is, at least in my mind, how to build out our county assemblies. We might want to do multiple things at once, and we can't. There are some things we can do simultaneously, and one of them is a peacekeeper. So yeah, it's really interesting. Let me just kind of breeze through there. Thanks, Andrew, and good question, Christopher. We're going to talk about boundary boxes, which is a slang term for how you find law enforcement scattered across your counties. cities, towns, and townships, those kinds of things, municipalities, incorporated, unincorporated, all of those types of build outs. We'll beginning to share kind of a little bit of the world where Sheriff or Andrew is here as a county reeve, and kind of how that works, how that dynamic even works out. And again, it's a slang term, boundary boxes or other grids that you'll find. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. I'll touch on this. This is a 2025 just updates, period updates. I'm going to share a lot of these in kind of a few different ways. Email, given the opportunity, upon request, if anybody again wants to expound, kind of like what Paul was talking about, where you can reiterate and share. So in email form, you can send directly to someone. The MeWe platform, a funny name, but a pretty solid platform, kind of a sanitized version of Facebook without all the adverts. I'll share that, plus then articles. So see these as they go. These are really, but these questions are geared more towards everybody here who are liaison. We'll talk more about that. State border defense, I want to touch and just take note of the others here. The state border defense, we kind of heard a little bit of conjecture about what this means and how it relates to the counties. And it's a good question. The state border defense or state defense forces is a collective. What this insinuates is the fact that your state borders from end to end is a complete fit of all of your accumulative counties. So just by virtue of the dynamics, the mechanics of your entire state borders, to you venture into either a coastal line or another state all around you. For instance, Kentucky has 9 states around it. Up until that border and all points inward, 120 counties equates to the state border defense, all collected counties. Not to say all counties are available at the time, but that's the idea. So that was discussed earlier. I think Lisa Schaefer had mentioned this, and it's a good point. So it stands to reason just to reiterate what that actually means. No, it's not the state running to their border, and having, I don't know, 20 feet of a safe distance and then commencing keeping their state border in existence. No, that's kind of absurd. But yeah, that's what it would mean. However many counties you have in totality comprises the borders of your state, simply put. And I'll build out more information about international dispatch centers. We have people already in certain states that has radio communications are interested in what it takes to have their own dispatch, emergency dispatch, and that's good. Coordination, just really quick. What this means to peacekeeping task force? Additional coordination in our world to make things really fluid and copacetic in our efforts. We would like to talk with your assembly militia, period, point blank. If you don't have one, then the growth trend of that, you would have somebody as a co-coordinator at the state level at some point to help the state level grow their state pillars. So we would want to talk with that co-coordinator with their assembly militia. That's what a coordination team means, or coordination. A state coordinator, if you have only one, God bless them if they're able to cover down all 4 pillars at the same time. But we would advocate for having, in every occasion, we could argue for additional coordinators. So if you did have one other, or if you're considering that, we would hope to meet them at your assembly militia pillar and begin work. And then I'll touch on these other 3 points too, since time has ran out. Well, one moment, Bobby. Let me just close this last slide. We'll get to Bobby after this. So next training day, the last on Series 1, 2025, May 24th. Let me know, those who have your, you have now the email that we're using for feedback. So if you have the time, go ahead and fashion your own email, produce it to liaison work, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Bobby. That was the last slide. Stop screen sharing.
Yeah, does anybody else have anything? No? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Anybody interested in pre-1775 constitutional jurisprudence or any type of grand jury presentments from that time, post-constitutional and post-Liber Code? Send me an email. And also, I'm looking for anybody who would like to learn how to do investigations. I'll yield with that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Bobby, we can put information about things that we can provide the assemblies. Maybe that would be something we could put and send to the liaisons and have them work through to their IBA. That's perfect for that, their International Business Assembly. For private investigative work, funeral details for status corrected men and women. Peacekeeping Task Force can offer that. Confirmation folks trying to venture into your assembly militias with stolen valor credentials. There's quite a few things that we can offer, and we're searching for other viable opportunities for you to offer your assemblies. And those are just a few of them. Good
Yeah,
stuff, Bobby.
yeah, no, sorry. I'll
Private-
just deal with this one thing. Sorry, guys. My voice is a little, always sounds like I'm pissed off when I'm talking. I've been up all night flashing radios, so we have everything going as planned. Everything's back to normal, so to speak.
You're awesome, Bobby. Thanks. Okay, well, we're a little bit past. Thanks for everybody for sticking around and all of the
Joe?
good feedback above and beyond. Yep.
There are
Can
a
I
couple
quit?
questions. Do you want, can
Oh.
we take those, Kimberly and then Andrew?
Okay.
Thank you. Forgive me. I wanted to just make a proposal to the liaisons here. I realize that we come to our break after the next session 2 weeks from tonight. So I wanted to get this on the table this evening. I personally would love it if the liaisons could potentially create a call wherein we can actually come together to be able to discuss, not in an educational format, but in a bit of right now, a meet and greet and getting to know one another. I would like to just be familiar with the liaisons on other states should we have to interact together. We have met prior to any engagements of business that we might need to work on. So I didn't know how the rest of the group felt about that. And if that would be something that would be one, okay with the PKTF, if we were able to have a meeting secondary to the type of meeting we're having here where we don't have much opportunity to commingle with one another. But also wanted to ask the other liaisons how they would feel about that. So I'm sorry to put it on deck and lob it in, but we're going to be coming to our administration break in 6 weeks that we might otherwise still be able to have connection, and thought that would be potentially useful to all of us. So thank you, and I yield.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to Bobby, hey, I'll be giving you a call sometime later in the week because about that investigation stuff, because I think, all sheriffs should at least, get familiar with some of the techniques you probably got, and, it'll help us out in the long run. I yield.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks,
It's
Andrew.
about, you gotta, through that, you have to develop 1775 pre-constitutional case management, man. You have to learn how to do all that stuff, with the laws afforded to us back then. And where does that come from? Does anybody know? What would be I guess the standing law at that period of time? Who would you go by? Right? In 1775. Think about American Admiralty, think about, so it would match up with all the different forms of the Continental Congress. Okay, so those are the different types of cases and presentments we have to do, because each one of those Congresses have their own grand juries associated with them in postal areas, correct? So what we have to do is develop those processes, not again, for pre-litigation and an investigatory thing. So we have to build from that time all the way up until present day. I'll yield with that. Any interest, please.
Bobby, I don't know where you get your strength. I sleep about an average of 4 to 5 hours a week, 6 days a week. Then I crash on the weekends usually. Sorry. Anyway, good job, guys. One last thing, really quick. Last 2 minutes, 15 minutes past the hour. If you could provide us with, through your efforts and through the email, anybody interested on being interviewed by Tammy Healy, kind of let's let that highlight through the email that we're trying to use here, because we want to try to be able to get 50 separate or 50%, 25 separate interviews, first interviews through. And then I think the Continental Marshal Service would be next. We're already going to have this in a couple of weeks, I think the 24th. So you'll see us, we're already scheduled for the 24th before the noon. So 11 a.m. Eastern, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy and Luis, but so it's going to be fun. We're already jumping the gun. We've waited long enough. I told Tammy, I said, if you can get at least 25 of the 50 states interviewed first, then we'll go ahead and do that. Well, she's really close. So please help us out. I mean, I don't know if Oklahoma, I know Darren, Australia's been on twice. It's really cool. But anybody, Texas, anybody here, if you haven't had an interview yet for your assembly, just, encourage them, ask through your committees for outreach. This is catered towards outreach, and just kind of let us know where you are each week if you can, especially going into the administrative leave where we're not meeting like this every 2 weeks. Just kind of let us know. We'll send you some certain asks that maybe just for all of the assemblies, or maybe just unique for your assembly, for your state or county, whatever Lisa's working on with that. So anyway, thanks everybody for your time. Good first Q&A session. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. And I'll get answers to the question. I'll get answers to the questions to everybody that we didn't get over.
I can send them
Get a
out.
chance to discuss. All right.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Have a good night. Thanks.